Hi, Daddy. I want to be just like you,
Champagne.
but at the same time, be completely different and original.
The new Naked Gun walks into a genre with a lot of history and even more expectations. How do you step out from under the shadow of one of comedy's most beloved franchises? How do you update a format that's been done and done well across films like Top Secret, Airplane, and Spaceballs, to name a few, as well as the three Naked Gun entries led by the legendary Leslie Nielsen? This new entry certainly makes a go of it, but it has an awfully big hill to climb.
Says you served 20 years for man's laughter.
You mean manslaughter?
Must have been quite the joke.
I was looking forward to this movie because I love the old Naked Gun films, and I thought that casting Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin, or Frank Drebin Jr., was kind of brilliant. If there's anyone who can play it straight while acting out the most ridiculous stuff, like a burrito induced diarrhea attack while driving, it's Liam Neeson.
What seems to be the problem?
I've contracted AIDS
How did you get that?
from an African prostitute.
Add in Pamela Anderson, who showed some comedic promise in Borat,
About this videotape, the one where they do it on the boat, and then in the car, and then in the bathtub, and he's like, "Hey, baby, I love you," and no, not that tape.
and CCH Pounder as a hard as nails police chief, mirroring her role in The Shield, and you have the potential for a pretty decent cast amid an avalanche of eye rolling quips, zany gags, innuendos, and slapstick comedy. And to be honest, the cast was good. I had no issue with anyone I just mentioned. They all pulled off what they set out to do. Liam Neeson was pretty great in this type of comedy, as you might expect. Does he have the same charm as Leslie Nielsen? No, not really, but that's a pretty tough thing to capture. I'm glad Neeson played the character as he did and not just emulate Leslie Nielsen, which I think would have come off a lot more awkward and ineffective. Pamela Anderson was surprisingly good. She fit the role, played her part with no issue, and had some funny moments. She's a much better actor than I remember from the Baywatch or Barbed Wire days, though I'm not sure how much of her acting I was paying attention to. I think it's safe to say she's grown as an actress, so kudos to her. Maybe the weakest link was Paul Walter Hauser, who didn't do a bad job of portraying Ed Jr., but he wasn't given a whole lot of screen time and never feels as important or has as much of a presence as George Kennedy in the first Naked Gun. The partnership isn't as strong here, as Liam Neeson mostly heads out on his own from one comedic encounter to another on his quest to solve the caper. Story-wise, there's nothing too complicated here. The villain is an evil billionaire intent on wiping out most of humanity with a literal plot device, who must be thwarted at all costs. It's nothing too special, but to be fair, most people probably don't go to a Naked Gun movie for the strength of the story. They're there for the jokes and gags. And that's where this movie stumbles pretty badly, in my opinion. Now, humor is a really subjective thing, but for me, there were only two sequences in the whole movie that really stood out and got me laughing, one being the aforementioned diarrhea in a car gag. A few other moments prompted a chuckle or two, but that's about it. And it's not like I don't like this kind of humor. I love Airplane and Spaceballs and the old Naked Gun movies, and the first Scary Movie too. Hell, I even got a kick out of those haunted house films by Marlon Wayans, which were incredibly ridiculous, but when you grow up with stuff like Top Secret, you might develop an affinity for that kind of humor. Sadly, the humor in this largely fell flat for me. It just didn't work most of the time. It also doesn't help that some of the funniest scenes are shown in the trailer, so when those moments hit, the amusement factor's already gone. There's no real standout set piece like the baseball game in the first Naked Gun, which really allowed Leslie Nielsen to ramp up the ridiculousness with a purpose. And I felt there were some wasted moments that seemed ripe for a punchline, but none ever came. One of the funniest scenes was a repurposed gag from Austin Powers, which made me laugh for sure, but in the back of my mind, my brain was telling me, "You've seen this before." And that's an issue with the whole film, really. Like I said at the start, this movie's in a really tough spot, trying to remake something that's already been done before and done very well, with an incredibly entertaining and charming actor who set the tone for this type of comedy for decades. This isn't a bad movie. I like the actors, and I love that an attempt was made to bring back this type of film and comedy, which has been sorely lacking. But unfortunately, the humor and overall entertainment factor just pale in comparison to the classics, for me at least. I'd give this a 5 out of 10. Nice effort, but kind of mid. You might have a totally different experience because, as I said, humor can be very subjective, and it has been getting some pretty favorable reviews elsewhere. For me, this was a miss, but I have to give it points for the acting, the commitment to the genre, and the filmmaking itself, which is all competently done. Maybe it's my fault for rewatching the 1988 version the night before seeing this, but I don't think so. Well, that's all I've got for now. Which is your favorite comedy in this subgenre? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.